Member Kane?
Here.
Member Maxwell?
Here.
Member Harris?
Here.
Chair Lantis?
Here.
Vice Chair Crowley?
Here.
Does look like we have a quorum today.
Thank you. Item number 3, the consent agenda. We've got the February 27th, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Seeing or hearing none. The B would be the March 27th, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Would all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Declaration. At this time, I would like to ask Planning Commission members to make a declaration of any conflict of interest or of any ex parte or outside communication that might influence their ability to hear all sides on any item on the agenda so that they might come to a fair decision.
Yes, I will be recusing myself. Item B on the agenda. With.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Crowley, thanks for letting us know that. New business, item 5, Van Night Edition final plat, Zach Martin, City Planner. You're up.
We'll go ahead and get started with our first item this evening. Lucas and I were just discussing that we are considering, I believe, a total of 56 units of housing this evening. So nice to see some progress. I know it's been a little slow in here over the past few months, but it has come roaring back with the spring weather. So we'll go ahead and get going. So this first item, application for a final plat to be called the Van Night Edition, located at 818 and 822 West 10th, to allow for 3 residential lots as requested by Slade Mandeventer. So we have seen this item before. It has come through the commission in preliminary form, and we are now in the final platting process, kind of that last stage. We are needing to get completed before Slade can develop the properties. But here we have the aerial of the subject addresses. So you can see currently 2 lots with an existing house located at the corner of Olive and 10th Street. These parcels are zoned R2 and HOO, which is our housing opportunity overlay that was approved in 2024 by the Planning and City Commissions. It was approved to allow for lots slightly below these standards as required by properties within our zone districts. And the preliminary for the Van Night Edition was passed February. The final plat has been reviewed by staff, and a copy of the comments provided on March 27th to the applicant is attached to the memo. All comments remaining are relatively minor or clerical nature and are to be addressed by the time of final review and consideration at the April 24th planning meeting. Staff also notes just kind of the background on this for the commissioners that were here for the various hearings on this property. The rezoning was a bit contentious given the reduction in dimensions that would allow for the lots, and the applicant did take that into consideration and actually reduced the number of lots from 4 to 3 as presented on the final plat that is before you and on the screen. So that was a really welcome consideration from the developer, who did take all of that into consideration when revising the plat for development. And the HOO zoning is still applicable, as the lots are still slightly, at least one of them, below typical standards, but through that HOO zoning does allow the property to be developed, so it's still beneficial overall, even with the reduction in 1 lot. That is a summary of the final plat for Van Night Edition. There is no action to be taken at this time. The final plat will be up for final approval at the April 24th Planning Commission meeting.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Would you please tell us if Commissioner Staresnik-Dean comes online? Okay. All right. Anything from this side? Nope. Okay. Well, then we will move to item B. And I think this is the one where Commissioner Crowley will be recusing himself.
I'm going to do the other side.
All right, so item B is the application for a preliminary plat to be titled South Haven Estates, located at the northern portion of 915 West 19th Street, to allow for 23 residential lots. So the proposed subdivision consists of the northern 5.7 acres shown in the left-hand photo, which is the GIS image up on the screen. This lot is very recent. It was created via a lot split in late 2024 and is recent enough that the lines are not reflected on GIS due to our servers not having been updated yet. So fairly recent, but it went from lot split to subdivision fairly quickly. So I did try to at least capture the general area that you are looking at on GIS and the actual lines from the lot split on there as well. This area is located in the southwest portion of town. There is an existing subdivision immediately to the west, Osage Drive, and then this is north of, pardon me, I forget the name of the specific church, but it is just north of an existing church area as well. So it is, again, to be located on about 5.7 acres of the aforementioned address, which is immediately south of West 17th Street, and will be accessed via cul-de-sac with ingress and egress from that street, and then 23 residential lots and one tract arranged around said cul-de-sac. These addresses will be zoned R1 with the proposed subdivision consisting of single-family homes. And we have worked with the developer and internal departments to ensure that the addressing of comments is taken care of. Comments were made to the applicant initially in late February, with resubmittals provided in March. And primary comments have stemmed from engineering and updating stormwater study and other information as provided. We've also provided additional comments to the applicant based on the schedule that we're working on for the preliminary and final plats. So in order to ensure the timely processing of this application, we have coordinated for concurrent review of both items. I believe you all have the large physical copies in front of you as well, but for those online, we do have the preliminary plat on the screen, so you can get a image of what is being proposed for that property. And again, comments have been provided to the developer as recently as earlier today. We had this item through our DRC committee yesterday and had some additional comments as well. Brief overview of those would include street name. So currently I believe it's listed as Haven Court. Offhand, Haven I think is what it was. But we have worked with the developer to ensure that the street name actually aligns with the existing street grid. So I believe we are going with Olive Circle now as well, which follows the alignment and matches our subdivision requirements. There's also been comments regarding sanitary sewer, which is to be coordinated with utilities. Fire hydrants was an initial comment provided by Fire and Life Safety. However, those were just not clearly noted on the plat, so that is being addressed as well. There's also been some general comments from engineering, including continuation of the sidewalk around the cul-de-sac bulb, as well as the existing water utility, and confirmation of row dimension. There are additional comments to be provided by the city engineer, provided next week for both preliminary and the final plats, which again, we are working very closely with the developer to ensure that those are addressed by the time of the April 20th. Which does feed directly kind of into this. There is no actual action to be taken at this meeting this evening. The preliminary and final plats for South Haven are scheduled to be considered at the April 4th Planning Commission meeting, and comments are being delivered to the developer as soon as them being addressed in it.
Questions?
Yeah, I just have
Commissioner
one
Kane?
question. It's saying a cul-de-sac with an ingress from 17th. Why not a through street to 19th, since all those kids in that neighborhood are going to go to Sunflower?
So there is a large church immediately south.
Right?
That takes up all of the land there. It's not clearly. I focused on the actual property that's in
Because what's
question.
up
You can
top
see
there is
the-
19th Street, correct?
No, that's 17.
Oh, that's 17th.
Yes.
Oh,
So if
that's looking to the
you, well, my
sorry,
mouse
it's
is
cut
over.
off. I couldn't
You
tell.
see down here, you can see where the outline of the on the lot down here. This is where
Okay.
Emmanuel Baptist Church is, right?
Okay.
Yeah, the church is fairly large, and it kind of sits right in the center of the property
I'm
where the
sorry,
street
you
would
can't see
otherwise
that,
run.
Brian.
Oh, that's all right.
But see, here's where the church is on the south. This is the north end here. See?
Okay. All right. Now that picture makes
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can update the presentation for the 24th to give a whole picture of that lot. I was just trying to zoom in this.
Sure.
It doesn't affect the proposal, but Brian's point is valid. Those kids are going to walk across that church property to go home from a Sunflower. because they'll walk down 19th. Right? Am I seeing that right? I'm just saying in a practical sense, the kids will come up 19th to go home and they'll just walk across the church property. I'm just suggesting.
I mean, in some ways, I think that's hard to speak to. Although, with it,
Well,
I don't think there's any provision for that, right?
No,
Because that would require
I'm only
some sort of
raising
a
it from the
pedestrian cut through.
from the standpoint of the developer working with the church so that there's an understanding that kids are probably going to come across there. It's just a political issue, not a formal one. I'm not raising a formal concern at all. Just trying to make life better for everybody. Easier.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate, I mean, the spirit of both of those interventions. I think something that we've heard throughout the comprehensive plan process and here regularly, City Commission is a focus on those interventions.
Yeah, I mean, if it's foot traffic across church property, the church may, my property, right? So, seeing that picture does me a little better than seeing just a red-orange square around the property. So
Yeah.
that helped. Thank you.
I think the developers heard our concerns, but ultimately it's whatever the church wants to do, because they'd have to grant somebody an easement of, just saying, yeah, they can walk across, or doesn't guarantee that they can. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, I understand.
And I appreciate everybody's comments. So I do have to go. Do you have anything? Did Commissioner Stressing-Dean come on? Okay. Commissioner, do you have any comments? And welcome to the meeting, and let the record reflect that she is in attendance now.
I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay. I just have two questions, and I just want to make sure so the developer's not surprised. Well before you guys got here, we had a lot of discussions about the length of streets leading to a cul-de-sac and about the width of the cul-de-sac. And has the fire chief signed off on this yet?
Not quite. That's why we're working on confirming the width of the right-of-ways. So that's something that went out as a comment earlier today based on our discussion with the fire chief yesterday.
Well, I didn't want him to spend a lot more money and then find out that the fire chief says, oh, no, we're not going to be able to do that.
No, I don't believe the length was a major issue. It was a width discussion that came up. So that is a background
Well,
conversation.
somewhere back there is a maximum length for a
Yes.
cul-de-sac.
700.
Is that what it?
I think is what
Okay.
it was.
Okay.
Yes.
Those are the only questions I have. Anybody else? Last chance. All right. Come on back up, Commissioner Crowley, and we'll move on to the. We'll make a lot of noise again here while we're putting all these in place. All right, item C, the Cherry Creek final plat. Zach?
All right, so this is the application for final plat at 901 South Cherry Street to allow for a two-family dwelling housing development as requested by Lark LLC. So this has been on kind of in the background for the past few months while our respective engineers worked on addressing various stormwater concerns and getting some various approvals and things like that. So it's been in the background, but the project has been moving forward. You may recall this project from probably mid-2024, fairly large housing development just south of 9th Street between 9th and 10th on Cherry with 30 separate housing units. That will be built in 2 phases over the next few years. So it's a great housing opportunity in the community. And this property actually received a planned unit development, preliminary planned unit development approval as well. And that is the second item right after this. So a fairly large development occurring right over there. Currently it is an undeveloped, just over 5-acre tract located along South Cherry Street. It is surrounded by existing residential development and zone parcels. The subject property is zoned R2 and HOO, which is two-family and housing opportunity overlay district, which does allow for the proposed uses by right. And the property to the immediate north is zoned manufactured home subdivision, and to the south and west R1, which is family, and the east is additional R2 HOO, as well as a small section of R1 HOO. The applicant is concurrently requesting a planned unit development, which I mentioned earlier. And also mentioned earlier, we have coordinated revisions and resubmittals with the developer over the past several months to ensure that comments and concerns regarding stormwater, drainage, and any additional floodplain concerns have been addressed on the final plat. This has been heavily coordinated with the city engineer to ensure that all concerns are addressed. You can see the final plat here. Obviously, it has been provided in more detail for y'all. There worked many months on making sure that this got to this point. And again, we have coordinated very heavily with the city engineer, who has given his approval as far as what has been proposed. Other than that, as far as the subdivision code is, city staff has no other comments regarding the proposed final plat for Cherry Creek. And with that, we do recommend approval of the final plat to be titled Cherry Creek with the following courses of action. Motion to recommend approval of the final plat of Cherry Creek to the City Commission, or motion to recommend denial of the application, or motion to continue deliberation at the next meeting scheduled for April 24th. Motion to accept findings as presented, motion to modify findings as presented, or motion to deny findings as presented. And that would come before what I just listed. Apologize.
Question. We do the final plat before we do the PUD? Is that the right order? Because will the plat, if, let's say we don't approve the PUD, would final plat would be moot then, wouldn't it?
And yes,
As long as we, it just seemed to me to be.
I don't believe there was any issues with the way we ordered it.
Okay.
Based on our review, I don't think there was any conflict that we were aware of. It's a good question, but I don't think there were issues with that.
Okay, well, you guys are happy doing it this way or fine doing it this way? Questions, comments?
I actually have a question about the stormwater. I know that when we were getting concerns from the neighborhood, the concern was not just about the fact that this these units were going to be so close to the floodplain, but the fact that the streets in that area already flood, and it sometimes reduces drivability as it is with the number of houses that are there. Is that somehow being addressed with all of this as well? That would be the city because it's the streets, but I remember that being a very big concern that the community in that area was expressing.
I do know that the city did a bunch of work on that intersection that drains through.
Okay.
And I think they increased the size of the culverts going through there to let that water get away faster. And that would be something we need to confirm with Public Works, but.
Well, and real quick, I do believe, and Austin, you might be able to confirm that Lindsay with Clark LLC, the engineer, I believe, is on the call. Yes. So if there are questions specifically related to the back and forth regarding stormwater and the engineering aspect, I believe she is on the call to answer those questions as well.
Okay. Because I feel like that was really the biggest concern, that, you know, you're adding structures and adding a lot of cars into an area that already at that time when this first came up was kind of a challenge to navigate when we had a lot of heavy rain.
I will say that from the department's perspective, in working with the city engineer and working with Lindsay, we have no concerns about additional stormwater. That has all been planned for.
Okay, that is my main question. So thank you.
Anything else? If I don't hear,
Question.
yes.
This is the same real estate that Raymond Love was going to try to get rezoned.
It is.
Yes.
It's Raymond Love.
Due to the fact this is single family, they don't have to deal with the rezoning, so they don't have to have a public hearing. Is that correct?
It's
It's an R2 HOO.
No.
Two-family housing opportunity. It's been the correct zoning since project started. So yeah, there was no need for a rezoning on this. The PUD came into play to allow for the development of 2 family residences on one large, as opposed to separate.
I know at one point in time there was a public hearing and there was a lot of opposition. Is there, I take it there will have to be another public hearing.
And Ashley, can you speak to any noticing that has occurred for this project?
Public hearing is only required in the preliminary stages, and we did at that point in time.
So we did, and
I was thinking the only opposition was the water issues. I didn't think there was any opposition
and
for the
Traffic.
I'm not
for the
aware
usage or
of,
anything.
Traffic was a concern of the
The
neighborhood.
rezoning went through 23, I believe. Set up.
I'm not aware of any opposition, either written or in person, on this go round. And I think
I don't remember
the
that
developer has, you know what?
From what I remember, I thought there was a lot of positive because it's only a few blocks from Ottawa University.
I believe there was an initial project involved, I think.
I thought it was a high-rise apartment.
That's what I'm
And
thinking.
that would have required a reason.
Yeah, that was like a 3-story apartment.
Okay.
So that may be where that got from. But what is currently being proposed is appropriate for the property. So zoning was not a concern. That was actually a benefit to the project in that they didn't need to go through that process. It was a rare instance of the property being zoned correct for what was being proposed of that scale.
I also, I would say from our process early on with the developer in this iteration, I think they took on board the concerns of the neighbors and reoriented the project to fit the neighborhood a little, fit the character of the neighborhood.
And this is a 3-phase project, correct?
2-phase.
2-phase?
Two.
Okay.
So is phase 1 duplexes that are highlighted?
Yeah. The first.
And I touch a little bit more on that in the PUD section, but
Okay.
yes.
Yes, what, six?
6 buildings, 12 units, I
Yeah,
believe.
12 units, yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right, recommended action. The first recommended action would be to have a motion to accept the findings as presented. Alternative actions would be to modify the findings as presented or to deny the findings as presented.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the findings as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Crowley, second. Any further discussion? Would you call the roll?
Member Harris,
Yes.
Vice Chair Crowley,
Yes.
Member Stresnick Dean,
Yes.
Member Maxwell,
Yes.
Member Kane,
Yes.
Chair Lantis.
Yes. All right, so the next one is, we've accepted the findings. Now the next one would be to have a motion to recommend approval of the final plat to the city commission for their action, or to recommend denial of the application, or to continue deliberation. How does the commission?
Make a motion to approve it.
Commissioner Harris made a motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Maxwell seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Member Harris,
Yes.
Member Stresnick Dean,
Yes.
Chair Lantis.
Yes.
Member Maxwell,
Yes.
Member Kane,
Yes.
Vice Chair Crowley.
Yes.
All right, it's approved to recommend it to the city commission for final passage. Item D, Cherry Creek Final Planned Unit Development.
So this immediately follows the final plat that we just discussed. Same project located at 901 South Cherry Street. And dive a little bit deeper. This project, the PUD was relatively ready for approval several months ago after the preliminary had gone through. However, those both went through concurrently, the preliminary plat and the preliminary PUD. So for the sake of just consistency, we did hold them both together as well in this case. So there's not been any real significant changes other than the completion of the stormwater and floodplain requirements that came up with the final plat. So by and large, what you see before you as far as the PUD is concerned is the same as what was presented mid to late 2024. Here we have the image of the property again, and a bit of an overview of the property that we just gone over, including the dimensions and existing zoning. Covered it briefly in the final plat, but just as a refresher, the proposed development would consist of 30 dwelling units located within 15 buildings arranged around a central drive that will connect East 9th and East 10th Street. It would be accessible from these roads with units placed along the frontage of South Cherry, not having drives accessing the street to preserve a consistent neighborhood frontage. And parking will be provided along the middle drive with ample parking for the proposed use. 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. I know that was a factor that came into play during the preliminary PUD, and we worked to make sure that we would have enough spaces, and they have provided in excess of the required amount of spaces. And the proposed project would be completed in 2 phases, as mentioned prior. The first phase consisting of units 1 through 12 at the north end of the property, where the proposed drive intersects with East 9th Street. So on the screen, I've included the PUD site plan page, but I believe you all have the full set of, or at least the primary plans involving the PUD, including the site plan with, as Commissioner Kane mentioned earlier, the highlighted first phase included on there of the 6 units that would come online first. I've also included landscaping and the key features of the PUD. Again, the preliminary went through back in 24, and pretty much a month after that, the final was more or less ready for consideration. However, we did want to run these currently to make sure that the project was kept on the schedule. So similar with the final plat, we have coordinated any revisions and resubmittals with the developer over the past several months to ensure that all comments and concerns have been addressed. And as mentioned, it will be completed in 2 phases, with the northern section to be completed first. And it is reflected in the construction of the plan for parking, with van accessible spaces having been moved to the northern side of the plan to be completed within the first phase, as well as dumpster access and other important facilities that would be needed for anyone moving into that initial phase. In the initial response to comments, it was stated by the applicant that the utilities were to be constructed in phases as well, and the city has requested that these be completed entirely within phase 1. And at the time of the preliminary PUD, that was agreed by the developer. So with that, staff does recommend a few things. So first, the recommended actions to accept the findings as presented, or to modify, or to deny the findings. And then either a motion of approval for the PUD at Cherry Creek, or a motion to continue deliberation at the April 24th, 2025 meeting, or denial of the application.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Any comments or questions from the commission?
I think it's a neat project.
Be well utilized for sure.
Yeah. All right, if I hear none, then the recommended action will be a motion to accept the findings as presented. Alternative actions, we've motion to modify the findings or motion to deny the findings. What's the commission's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept the findings.
Motion to accept the findings as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Member Resnick Dean seconded. Would you call the roll?
Member Maxwell,
Yes.
Chair Lantis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Crowley,
Yes.
Member Stresnick Dean,
Yes.
Member Harris,
Yes.
and Member King.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we need a motion to.
I apologize.
Okay, recommended action. Okay, recommended action would be a motion to recommend approval of the final plat, final P of the. Okay, let me start that over again. Let's roll the tape back and we'll start that over again. Recommended action. Motion to recommend approval of the PUD of Cherry Creek to the City Commission.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Would you call the roll?
Member Stresnick Dean,
Yes.
Chair Lantis,
Yes.
Member Harris,
Yes.
Vice Chair Crowley,
Yes.
Member Maxwell,
Yes.
Member King.
Yes.
All right, I think we've got that taken care of. Item number 6, unfinished business, comprehensive plan, Chapter 2, Zach Martin, planner.
All right,
So this is just an overview of the updates that have been completed on Chapter 2. This particular section focused on existing conditions and demographics. So what we provided is the general text amendment of the comprehensive plan, with just the general caveat that graphs, maps, charts, all of that are to be inserted at a later date, just to help with the ease of formatting, and to ensure that the content is otherwise correct. And we have broken them down by section of revision. So first, the introduction was general updating of phrasing and content. Existing land use was minor changes to phasing and phrasing and word usage. Growth and development was a complete revision of the body emphasizing infill opportunities, industrial opportunities that have developed in the past 21 years. Demographics, that was a complete rewrite and a summary providing detailed population growth and stability within Ottawa, as well as creation of key takeaways for this and proceed section. Getting sloppy with my reading skills, apparently. Education, comprehensive rewrite to reflect new school facilities, the closure of former schools, and population shifts in student bodies, as well as other changes in higher education opportunities. Community facilities, summary of facilities available to the community or utilized by the city to provide essential services. The sections within this broader category were reviewed internally by the appropriate city departments, broken down by public safety, and both sections complete overhauls and rewritten content that were provided by OPD and the fire department. Parks and Recreation had significant revisions as well to provide updates and changes to current parks, as well as adding additional information on parks that have been created since the adoption of the comprehensive plan. And local taxes. I've reached out to the finance department for a more detailed revision of this section. Obviously an extremely busy person, so that is still in progress as far as that is. So we are working to adapt the approach that we are doing to generate a fully revised document by May, and then allowing for comments to be provided on that document rather than the approach that it has been taking. As you're aware, I've had a very up and down few months that has adjusted my schedule quite a bit. And then, as you've seen, we've had a number of projects also just come back to the forefront. So being a single department working on this, sometimes the piecemeal approach is not the most efficient. So we are working to just dedicate a certain bulk of time to generate a revision of the entire document and then provide that for a full review and revision in that manner. This allows us to kind of really just focus on it and get that work completed, and get those direct changes and ideally speed up the process. We know been offset a little bit schedule wise, and we're trying to adjust. And then recommendation: there is no action to be taken at this time, but if you've had a chance to, obviously, here to take comments or just
Any comments or?
Where will the golf course? Should that be not listed under Parks and Rec?
It would be, yes, actually, it does need to be slotted in. That has been so new that section was not generated by Parks and Rec. So I will get with Parks and Rec and create a section that as the foreseeable future control of that. Correct.
The city owns and operates the golf course, yes, but we want to make sure that we put it in exactly the right spot.
It'd be,
In the
yeah,
plan.
because it'd be more like an amenity than a park, I would think, and I don't know whether we have a section for.
We'll work to make sure that we get the language exactly
Okay.
precisely correct.
Right, I mean, it needs to go somewhere
Yep.
because
Yeah,
I appreciate that very much.
So,
Commissioner.
Anything else? Commissioner Stressing Dean, you have anything? Mm-mm. Okay.
Nope.
Nope. I like those precise answers. Those speed the meeting along. Staff comments, item number 7.
Thank you for making quorum. Really appreciate it. And
Hey, we have a full house tonight.
we've got a full house, and it's been an exciting agenda, and so it's really exciting to be talking about 56 units of housing.
56 total. Now, does that include phase 2 of the?
Yeah, that's everything that is sort of contemplated on the
Okay.
agenda this evening.
Okay,
But
very good.
Director might want to mention application. Open.
There, yeah, there's the open position that is outside the city limits, but within 3 miles.
and applicant?
We haven't received.
It'd be nice, so we maybe have to fight less for a quorum. Yeah. Okay, commissioner comments. Commissioner Maxwell.
None.
None? All right.
Lots going on.
Honestly, it's nice to see walls going up at Hidden Lakes. Gosh, a mess over there through the winter.
It has been.
So it's nice to see some walls going up over there. It's nice to see a lot of activity around town. So I'm excited for the next several months. All this in fruition.
There, Commissioner Starestnik Dean, do you have anything?
Really, same comment. I've seen a lot of older houses that have been getting some attention and they're getting ready. They're on the market now, which is really exciting. And it's nice to see a lot of new housing coming in.
It is, absolutely. And, driving around the other day, again, I saw they have several that are in some process of framing out at Hidden Lakes. And I noticed over at Prairie Vista, what's called over next to the golf course? The
Vista.
Fairway Vista, the last,
Fairway Vista.
I think the last 5 or 6 duplex lots that have sat empty for all those years, they've got construction going on.
Yeah, it's 7, so 14 units, yep.
7
Oh.
7 lots,
buildings,
14 units.
14
yeah.
units, and then we've got, at some point, just down the street from that, we've got that going in. Is that correct still? Is that where the groundbreaking was?
The
No.
groundbreaking was for Fairway Vista.
For those lots?
Yeah, the development at Wilson and Davis it's still in progress.
Okay. So, 100 or so units right now. It's exciting, but I think we're going to need more. So let's not let off the throttle.
George Ogles, looking at
Yes, we do have a
pretty sizable project also.
potential preliminary plat coming forward in project.
Milner.
Yeah, so that would be across the street then. Yeah.
So catty corner, and then potentially very
Over by Lincoln.
Well, good.
but yes, potential housing opportunity.
And I've been meeting with a couple of developers that we haven't even come talk to you guys yet. So I'm anxious to see how deep their pockets are.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else for the good of the cause? If not, let's see here. I got to dig back. It's April 24th is the next, right, at 7, let's see. At noon. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what it is looking at the old minutes. So April 24th, 2025, our Planning Commission meeting here at noon, and May 14th, 2025, our next Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. If I don't hear anything else, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're
Aye.
done. Thank you all.
Who seconded?